life is suffering. Let's start there. That's the fundamental truth, the reality that every human being must come to terms with at some point. It's not a cynical statement. It's simply an observation of the structure of existence. We are born into a world of limitation, vulnerability, and inevitable pain. We experience loss, rejection, betrayal, and disappointment. Even when we do everything right, suffering finds its way into our lives. But within that suffering lies the most profound of human quests, the search for meaning. Because if life were only suffering without meaning, then what would be the point of enduring it? And that is the critical question. How do we transform suffering into something that doesn't just crush us, but instead refines us? Human beings are wired to seek purpose. It's not just a philosophical idea, it's a biological necessity. When people lack purpose, they descend into nihilism, chaos, and despair. That's why, when you endure hardship, the worst part isn't necessarily the pain itself, it's the feeling that the pain is meaningless. If you suffer for no reason, if it has no purpose, it becomes unbearable. But when suffering is linked to something greater, to growth, transformation, or connection, it becomes something we can endure, even something we can be grateful for. And this is where the idea of the soulmate enters the picture. Because the person you are meant to be with, the person whose presence will feel like an anchor in the storm, is not just someone you happen to love. They are someone whose existence helps you make sense of your suffering. People often say that love comes when you least expect it, that it appears out of nowhere. That isn't just a cliche. It's a psychological and philosophical truth. When we are searching too desperately, when we are forcing love or grasping at connection out of fear, we often push it further away. That's because real connection doesn't come from a place of desperation. It comes when you have aligned yourself with something meaningful, when you have faced the chaos of your own life and built a structure strong enough to sustain real intimacy. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Your soulmate doesn't just bring you peace. That's a common misconception. People assume that finding the right person means the end of struggle, the resolution of all inner turmoil. That's completely wrong. A true soulmate will not shield you from the chaos of life. They will help you confront it. They will challenge you, expose your weaknesses, force you to grow. And you will do the same for them. That's why when you meet someone who is truly meant for you, your soul recognizes them almost instantly. Not because they are perfect, not because they make everything easy, but because they mirror your suffering in a way that allows you to make sense of it. Carl Jung had this concept of the shadow, the parts of ourselves that we repress, ignore, or refuse to acknowledge. When you meet someone who is truly meant for you, they will often shine a light on that shadow. They will make you see parts of yourself that you'd rather not face. That can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is also necessary. Because true love isn't about comfort, it's about transformation. And transformation always requires sacrifice. You have to let go of who you were to become who you are meant to be. Now, that doesn't mean that love is purely a struggle. It's not meant to be an endless battlefield of conflict and difficulty. But it does mean that if you expect love to be easy, you are setting yourself up for disappointment. Relationships, especially the ones that truly matter, demand responsibility. And responsibility is the antidote to chaos. If you are unwilling to take responsibility for your own life, your actions, your weaknesses, your wounds, then you will never be ready for the kind of love that lasts. So when people say that love appears out of nowhere, what they are really saying is that It appears when you are ready to see it, when you have done the work of confronting your own suffering, when you have made yourself into someone capable of carrying the burden of real connection. That's when the right person comes along. And when they do, you won't just recognize them with your mind. You will recognize them with your pain, with your wounds, with the deepest part of yourself that has been waiting for that moment. Because at the core of all great love is the idea that two people who have faced the darkness of life on their own can now walk through it together. That's not a fairy tale. That's not some idealistic notion of romance. That's a reality grounded in the deepest truths of human nature. Love is not the elimination of suffering. It is the transformation of suffering into something meaningful. And when you understand that, you are no longer just waiting for love to arrive, you are preparing yourself to meet it when it does. Pain is one of the greatest teachers in life, though few people willingly sign up for its lessons. It breaks, reshapes, and refines us in ways nothing else can. People often wish to avoid suffering, to escape heartbreak and disappointment. But what they fail to see is that these very experiences shape them into the kind of person who can truly love and be loved. Love, real love, it requires understanding, patience, and resilience, and those qualities are often forged in the fires of hardship. The very pain you've endured is what prepares you for the kind of love that lasts. When you go through suffering, whether it's heartbreak, loss, or betrayal, you begin to see life differently. You learn what truly matters, what is superficial, and what is worth fighting for. Pain strips away illusions. It forces you to confront the truth about yourself, your needs, and your weaknesses. Many people enter relationships without truly knowing themselves, without understanding their emotional patterns, their fears, or their past wounds. They seek love as a means of escape rather than as a foundation for growth. But pain doesn't allow you to stay blind forever. It forces you to look inward, to ask difficult questions, to sit with discomfort until you finally understand what is really driving you. One of the most profound effects of pain is that it increases your capacity for empathy. When you've suffered deeply, you recognize suffering in others. You become more compassionate, more attuned to the emotional needs of those around you. Love requires this kind of emotional intelligence. It is not just about passion or attraction. It is about understanding another person at their core. If you have never experienced true hardship, it is difficult to fully grasp what it means to support someone in their darkest moments. But when you have been broken yourself, when you have struggled through your own chaos, you know what it means to hold space for someone else. You know how to listen, how to comfort, how to stand beside someone not just in their joy, but in their sorrow. People often say they want a love that is deep and meaningful, but they rarely consider what it takes to cultivate such a connection. Depth does not come from surface-level experiences. It is built through struggle, through overcoming adversity, through learning the difficult lessons that life throws your way. The kind of love that can weather storms is not built on fleeting excitement. It is built on shared understanding, on the ability to navigate hardship together. And the only way to develop that ability is by first navigating hardship on your own. Pain also teaches you boundaries. When you have been hurt before, you learn what you will and will not tolerate. You learn the difference between compromise and self-sacrifice, between love and dependency. Many people fall into relationships where they lose themselves, where they bend and twist into whatever shape they believe will make their partner happy. But pain has a way of showing you the cost of losing yourself. It teaches you that real love does not require you to diminish who you are. Instead, it should help you grow into the fullest version of yourself. When you have suffered, you start to see the warning signs more clearly. You recognize patterns of dysfunction, manipulation, or emotional unavailability, not because you are cynical, but because you have learned. Perhaps the most important lesson pain teaches you is that love is not about finding someone to complete you. That idea is a dangerous illusion, one that leads people to enter relationships out of fear rather than strength. If you believe that another person is meant to heal all your wounds, you will inevitably place an impossible burden on them. No one can fix what is broken inside you except you. Love is not about two incomplete people coming together in desperation. It is about two whole people choosing to walk together, to support each other, to build something greater than themselves. When you have been through deep suffering, you develop a greater appreciation for what is real. You no longer chase fleeting attractions or shallow connections. You seek something genuine, something with substance. You understand that love is not just a feeling, but a responsibility. It is a commitment to truth, to vulnerability, to showing up even when it's difficult. People who have never suffered often romanticize love as an endless source of happiness. But those who have endured pain know better. They know that love is not just about joy. It is about standing beside someone in the darkness and holding their hand until the light returns. So when you think about the pain you've endured, don't see it as something that has only taken from you. It has also given. It has made you wiser, stronger, and more prepared for the kind of love that is worth having. The pain you have felt will allow you to recognize something real when it comes along. You will know the difference between infatuation and deep connection. You will be able to love with more authenticity because you have already faced yourself in your weakest moments. Pain does not make you unworthy of love, it makes you ready for it. It strips away the illusions, the false expectations, the need for validation, and leaves you with something far more valuable. The ability to love from a place of wholeness, to offer something real, and to receive something real in return. And when love finally arrives, you won't just recognize it with your mind, you will recognize it with your heart, with your soul, and with every scar that has shaped you into the person you are meant to be. Love is often portrayed as a feeling, an intense emotion that sweeps people off their feet and transforms their lives. While emotions play a role in love, they are not its foundation. Real love is not just passion, desire, or fleeting excitement. It is responsibility. It is a commitment to something greater than yourself, to another person's well-being, to the work required to build and maintain a connection that can stand the test of time. Love is not passive, it is active. It is a choice that must be made over and over again, not just in moments of happiness, but in moments of hardship, conflict, and doubt. People often chase the feeling of love without understanding the weight of it. They want the euphoria, the romance, the excitement of something new. But the kind of love that lasts is not built on a constant high. It is built on trust, sacrifice. It is built on showing up even when it is difficult, even when life is not going as planned. That is what separates superficial relationships from those that endure. Anyone can love when it is easy, but real love is proven when things get hard. Responsibility in love means taking ownership, not just of your feelings, but of your actions. Love is not something that simply happens to you. It is something you cultivate. It requires effort, patience, and discipline. Many people assume that if love is real, it should be effortless, that it should flow naturally without challenges. But this is a false and damaging belief. Every meaningful relationship will face obstacles. Disagreements will arise. Disappointments will occur. And challenges will test the foundation of what has been built. The difference between love that lasts and love that fades is the willingness to take responsibility, to communicate, to listen, to put in the effort even when emotions waver. One of the greatest responsibilities in love is the responsibility for one's own emotional state. Many enter relationships expecting their partner to complete them, to heal their wounds, or to provide them with constant happiness. This is an unfair and unrealistic expectation. No one can carry the burden of another person's inner struggles. A partner can offer support, but they cannot be responsible for another's happiness. That is an individual responsibility, one that requires self-awareness and personal growth. To love someone fully, you must take responsibility for your own emotions, your own healing, and your own actions. In addition, responsibility in love means being accountable for how you treat the person you claim to love. It is easy to love when emotions are high, but true love is demonstrated in consistency. Do your words align with your actions? Do you show up when it matters? Do you respect, support, and prioritize the person you are with, even when it is inconvenient? Love is not about grand gestures alone. It is about the small, everyday choices that build trust and security. A person who truly loves does not only express love in words, but in consistent behavior. Another critical aspect of responsibility in love is the willingness to grow. No one is perfect. Every person brings flaws, insecurities, and past wounds into a relationship. Love requires the responsibility to recognize those flaws, to work on them, and to strive to be a better partner. Too often people expect love to accept them as they are, without any effort to improve. While love should be accepting, it should not be stagnant. A healthy relationship pushes both individuals to grow, to face their weaknesses, and to become better versions of themselves. This is not easy, but it is necessary. Real love is not about comfort, it is about transformation. Moreover, responsibility in love means committing to honesty. Love cannot thrive in dishonesty, avoidance, or deception. Many people fear difficult conversations, choosing to suppress issues rather than address them. But real love requires truth. It requires the courage to communicate openly, even when it is uncomfortable. Love should be a place where both individuals feel safe to be vulnerable, where they do not have to hide their fears, struggles, or imperfections. Without honesty, there is no foundation for trust. And without trust, love cannot survive. It is also essential to recognize that responsibility in love extends beyond the relationship itself. When two people choose to love each other, they do not exist in isolation. Their choices impact their families, their communities, and if they have children, the next generation. Love is not just about what makes two people happy in the moment. It is about the legacy they create together. A relationship built on responsibility does not just benefit those within it, it creates a ripple effect, setting an example of what love should be for others to see. In the end, love is not just about how someone makes you feel. It is about how you show up for them, how you treat them, how you grow with them. It is about taking responsibility for your actions, your emotions, and your commitments. The most enduring love stories are not the ones where everything was perfect, but the ones where two people chose to keep building, keep learning, and keep choosing each other every single day. That is real love. Not just emotion, but responsibility. Many people move through life searching for love, longing for the right person to appear and transform their world. They imagine their soulmate arriving like a missing puzzle piece, completing them, filling their emptiness, and bringing them the happiness they crave. But this is a dangerous illusion. Love does not work that way. The truth is, you do not simply stumble upon the right person by chance. You must prepare yourself to meet them. You must become the kind of person who can recognize, receive, and sustain the love you seek. People often think that love is something external, something they must find in the world. But love, at its core, is also something internal. The way you love another person is a reflection of how you love yourself, how you understand yourself, and how much responsibility you take for your own growth. If you are not prepared for love, if you are emotionally unready, wounded, or burdened by unresolved pain, you may not be able to sustain the kind of relationship you desire. Worse, you may not even recognize it when it arrives. Many people unknowingly sabotage the very thing they want most, not because love is absent, but because they have not done the work to hold on to it when it appears. So how do you prepare yourself? The first and most important step is self-awareness. You must take an honest look at yourself, your patterns, your fears, your past wounds, and the ways you may have contributed to previous relationship failures. It is easy to blame others for heartbreak, to believe that love has eluded you because of circumstances beyond your control. But true growth requires accountability. What habits have you carried into relationships that have harmed them? Do you struggle with trust? Do you seek validation from partners rather than building self-worth from within? Do you fear intimacy or push people away when they get too close? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary. Without self-awareness, you will continue to repeat old patterns, mistaking them for fate rather than recognizing them as choices. Once you have gained awareness, the next step is healing. Love requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires a level of emotional stability that many people lack because they have not addressed their past pain. If you carry unresolved wounds, they will surface in your relationships, whether you intend them to or not. You may project past betrayals onto a new partner, assuming they will hurt you in the same way. You may cling too tightly out of fear of abandonment or withdraw when someone gets too close because closeness feels unsafe. Healing is not just about letting go of the past. It is about learning new ways of relating to yourself and others so that you do not let old wounds dictate your future. Another critical part of preparation is becoming the kind of person who embodies the qualities you seek in a partner. Too often, people create long lists of the attributes they want in a soulmate: kindness, loyalty, ambition, patience, without considering whether they embody those qualities themselves. If you want a partner who is emotionally mature, are you emotionally mature? If you want someone who is honest and dependable, do you practice honesty and dependability in your own life? You attract what you are prepared to receive. If you are not aligned with the values you desire in another person, you may find yourself drawn to relationships that reflect your own lack of growth rather than the love you truly seek. Another key aspect of preparation is learning to be alone without being lonely. Many people enter relationships not because they are truly ready to share their life with someone, but because they are trying to escape themselves. They look to love as a remedy for their unhappiness, believing that a relationship will fix what feels broken inside. But love does not work that way. A relationship cannot be a substitute for inner fulfillment. If you cannot be at peace with yourself, if you cannot enjoy your own company, if you are restless in solitude, then you are not truly ready for love. You are seeking distraction. The healthiest relationships come from a place of wholeness, not from a sense of lack. Finally, preparing for love means embracing patience and trust in timing. Many people grow anxious when love does not come on their preferred schedule. They wonder if something is wrong with them, if they are destined to be alone, if they will ever find what they are looking for. But love is not a race, nor is it something that can be forced. The right person at the wrong time is still the wrong relationship. If you rush into something before you are ready or before they are ready, you may end up damaging what could have been something beautiful. Instead of focusing on when love will arrive, focus on becoming the best version of yourself so that when it does, you are prepared to meet it fully. Love is not a passive force that simply appears. It is something you must be ready to nurture, protect, and build. If you want real, lasting love, do not just wait for it. Work toward it. Grow into the kind of person who can love deeply, who can communicate honestly, who can withstand the challenges of a relationship with grace and commitment. When you do that, love will not just come to you, it will find a home within you. And when that moment comes, you will not just recognize it with your mind, you will feel it in your soul, knowing you are truly ready.